Welcome to Moments in History channel. Imagine a world without writing, without cities, without even the concept of time as we know it. It sounds like a prehistoric fantasy, but it was reality for all of humanity until one group of people changed everything. Today, we're journeying back over 6,000 years to the sun-baked plains of ancient Mesopotamia, the land between two rivers, to uncover the story of the world's first civilization, the Sumerians. This isn't just a history lesson. It's the story of how we became who we are today. From the first written word to the invention of the wheel, the Sumerians laid the foundation for modern life. So, buckle up, because we're about to explore the cradle of civilization. Our story begins around 4500 BCE in a region we now call southern Iraq. This land, nestled between the mighty Tigris and Euphrates Rivers, was a challenging place to live. It was hot, dry, and prone to unpredictable floods. But it was here that a resourceful and ingenious people, the Sumerians, learned to master their environment. They didn't just survive. They thrived, creating a surplus of food that allowed their population to grow. And with more people came a revolutionary new idea: the city. Before the Sumerians, humans lived in small, scattered farming villages. But the Sumerians built something entirely new: large, organized, and fortified urban centers. These weren't just overgrown villages. They were city-states, each with its own government, its own patron god, and its own king. Names like Uruk, Lagash, and Eridu echo through history as some of humanity's first great cities. Picture massive walls protecting thousands of people, bustling marketplaces filled with traders, and at the very heart of it all, a towering structure reaching for the heavens, the ziggurat. These ziggurats were more than just impressive buildings. They were the spiritual and economic heart of the city. These stepped pyramids, made from millions of mud bricks, were believed to be the earthly homes of the gods. At the very top was a shrine dedicated to the city's patron deity. Priests, who held immense power, would perform daily rituals, make offerings, and interpret the will of the gods. The ziggurat wasn't just a place of worship, it was also a center for administration, grain storage, and wealth distribution. It was a symbol of the city's power and its connection to the divine. Life in a Sumerian city was complex and highly organized. Society was hierarchical. At the top was the king, or Lugal, who was seen as the god's representative on earth. He was the chief lawgiver, the head of the army, and the ultimate authority. Below him were the priests and priestesses, scribes, and nobles. Then came the merchants, artisans, and farmers who formed the backbone of the economy. And at the bottom were the enslaved, often prisoners of war or people who had fallen into debt. This social structure, with its specialized roles, was a hallmark of civilization and allowed for incredible advancements. Perhaps the most groundbreaking of these advancements was the invention of writing. Imagine trying to run a complex city with thousands of people, managing trade, collecting taxes, and recording laws without being able to write anything down. It would be impossible. The Sumerians faced this exact problem, and their solution, around 3500 BCE, was cuneiform. It started simply, as pictographs etched onto wet clay tablets to keep track of goods like barley and livestock. But over centuries, these simple pictures evolved into a sophisticated system of wedge-shaped symbols representing sounds and concepts. This was a monumental leap. For the first time in history, humans could record their thoughts, their history, their myths, and their knowledge for future generations. The job of a scribe became one of the most respected professions. It took years of difficult training to master the hundreds of cuneiform signs, but those who did held the keys to power and knowledge. They recorded everything from legal contracts and royal decrees to medical texts and astronomical observations, and it was through writing that the Sumerians gave the world its first great work of literature, the Epic of Gilgamesh. This is not just an ancient story, it's a profound human drama. It follows the adventures of Gilgamesh, the heroic king of Uruk, and his wild man companion, Enkidu. They battle monsters, defy the gods, and explore the limits of their world. But after Enkidu's death, Gilgamesh is consumed by grief and a fear of his own mortality. He embarks on an epic quest to find the secret to eternal life. The story tackles timeless themes of friendship, loss, the fear of death, and the search for meaning. It shows us that over 4,000 years ago, people were wrestling with the very same fundamental questions we still ask ourselves today. The Sumerians' ingenuity didn't stop with writing. They were incredible innovators in technology and science. To tame the unpredictable rivers and turn the arid land into a breadbasket, they developed sophisticated irrigation systems with a network of canals and dikes that channeled water to their fields. They invented the plow, which revolutionized agriculture and allowed them to produce massive food surpluses. They are also credited with inventing the wheel, though not initially for transport. The first wheels were used by potters to shape clay more efficiently. Only later was this technology adapted for chariots and carts, transforming transportation and warfare. In mathematics, the Sumerians developed a sexagesimal or base 60 number system. Why base 60? We're not entirely sure, but it proved incredibly versatile. This system is the reason we have 60 seconds in a minute, 60 minutes in an hour, and 360 degrees in a circle. Think about that. Every time you check your watch or use a compass, you are using a mathematical legacy left to us by the Sumerians thousands of years ago. They used this system to make incredibly accurate astronomical calculations, mapping the stars, charting the movements of planets, and creating the first calendars, which helped them predict seasons for planting and harvesting. Sumerian governance was also foundational. They developed the world's first known legal codes. While the famous Code of Hammurabi came later, it was built upon earlier Sumerian legal principles. These laws covered everything from property disputes and trade agreements to marriage and inheritance. It was an early attempt to create a just society where disputes were settled by established rules rather than by simple brute force. This idea of written law, binding on everyone from the king to the commoner, is a cornerstone of modern civilization. So, what happened to these brilliant pioneers? The history of Sumer is also a history of conflict. The various city-states were fiercely independent and constantly vied with one another for land, water, and power. This constant warfare weakened them over time. Around 2334 BCE, they were conquered and unified by Sargon of Akkad, who created the world's first empire. Though Sumerian culture was largely absorbed by the Akkadians and later the Babylonians and Assyrians, their influence never truly faded. Their language eventually died out, replaced by Akkadian. But their writing system, their gods, their myths, and their scientific knowledge were all adopted and adapted by the successive civilizations that ruled Mesopotamia. The Sumerians were the trailblazers. They were the ones who took humanity from a scattered, prehistoric existence into a new era of organized urban life. They gave us the city, writing, the wheel, law, literature, and the very concept of timekeeping. Every major civilization that followed in the ancient Near East, and by extension, the entire world, stands on the shoulders of these first innovators. They truly were the cradle of civilization, the starting point of our collective human journey toward the complex, interconnected world we live in today. Their cities may now be dust and their language silent, but the echo of their genius resounds in almost every aspect of our modern lives. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey back to the dawn of history. If you found this fascinating, please hit that like button, subscribe to Moments in History channel, and ring the bell so you don't miss our next exploration into the incredible stories that shaped our world. Let me know in the comments which ancient civilization you'd like to see covered next. Until then, stay curious.